10 popular books or series that are not worth the hype. I am here with the amazing Petrik Leo. I just can't believe that we actually meet in person. And today we're going to talk about 10 popular books or series we just think are not that good. Also, we're making a video on Petrik's channel where we talk about underrated books that are more hype. So please go and check that out after you watch this one. Now, Petrik, do you want to start with the first one? What do you think is overhyped?
I can start with probably The Wheel of Time. Okay, I know that's really controversial. And not gonna lie, I'm in the middle of reading The Wheel of Time right now. I'm on book 10 and it's so horrible. I cannot finish it. It's so hard. But here's the thing. I think The Wheel of Time is it's full of mixed feelings. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad as well. People said contains some of the highest of high and also the lowest of low, and I agree with that. Like, for example, I really love book 5 and book 6.
Yeah.
Book 5, book 6, and book 2. But other than that, I'm having mixed feelings with all the other books that I've read in the series so far. I do hope that the rest of the series can convince me. That's if I manage to finish book 10, okay? But what do you think?
Okay, I don't think it's overhyped, one of my favorite series of all time, but book 10 is particularly bad. It's such a bad book in my opinion. I mean, whenever people complain about Wheel of Time, I always say on my channel, I understand their complaints. I don't even understand why you haven't finished reading Wheel of Time. Like, why don't you just stop? Because, like, it seems like you hate it. Like, yeah. But okay, let's go on to the next one. If you say Wheel of Time, I have to say Malazan, Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erickson. Now, I want to love the series. I've given it a try twice, and I'm actually considering giving it a third try.
Oh, come on, why?
I mean, the same reason why you keep reading The Wheel of Time. I feel like I need to finish Malazan as a fantasy book reviewer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just hasn't sucked me in enough. And like Guardians of the Moon has like 33 POVs. It's like, how am I even able to enjoy that series? I don't know. What do you think about Malazan?
I love Malazan, Book of the Fallen, but at the same time, I also understand your point of view. Not gonna lie, even though I really want you to love it, but it is a challenging series and it's very demanding. I think I read it at the really right time when I really could focus on reading such a big series, because I finished Malazan in 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. The entire
3 months.
Yeah, the entire Malazan series, I finished it in 3 months, and it was so good. But in my opinion, if you have read the series up to the 3rd book and you still don't like it, just give up. It won't work. It won't work.
I've only got to the halfway points of that cascade, so maybe I need to give it another try. The third one is actually a book that Petrik hasn't read, but I have to mention Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Like, I made a review a couple of years ago. I really wanted to love it. I loved the world, but it was just very, very slow paced. And as far as I'm aware, your wife, she hated it. So we kind of have a Leo here that didn't enjoy it.
That's a good one.
But it's not Petrik. But
Yeah.
I kind of want to give a Day of Fallen Night, which is the prequel, a try, because I love the world so much. But yeah, I felt very disappointed, especially with the climax. It was just overly rushed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one though. Because Johan started with Priory of the Orange Tree, I'm going to start with something that I think Johan hasn't read it yet, and that is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. Have you read it?
No, I haven't yet, no.
Yeah. Well, this is another thing that I understand the significance and the impact of Eragon. I think it is a very important series, especially if you read it when you were still young. Unfortunately, that did not happen to me because I read it when just a few years ago. And yeah, there's a lot of things in that book that really did not click with me, and I hope if I try it again, I hope it'll be a better experience. Do you plan to read it though?
No, at the moment, like almost everyone, as you said, say that this is a series that you enjoy if you read it as a young teen.
Yeah.
But I'm almost getting close to 30 now, and I read like 300 fantasy books. I just have a very strong feeling I would probably hate it. But I will respect it, obviously. It's been quite influential in modern times.
But before we go on to the next one, I need to introduce you to this new YA fantasy short story collection by today's sponsor called Tarot Stories. Now, Tarot Stories is a young adult fantasy short story collection with a total of 22 stories, and this collection is truly wild. Firstly, I have to showcase you how cool it looks inside. Almost every story has a new illustration, new type of font, which really allows you to get a unique reading experience. But what is this collection about? Now, the author describes this collection as a kick-ass book where Candyland meets the Twilight Zone. Now, in this collection, you will read stories that include Greek mythology, Santa Claus, horror love story, Americana, Japanese calligraphy, poetry, and even has a take on comic books. And some of the primary themes in this novel include the focus on achieving your dreams and the people you lose along the way. And while this short story collection is called Tarot Stories, it's actually much more about getting rid of the idols than worshipping them. So if you're looking for a new YA fantasy short story collection to dive into, then I'll leave a link down below where you can check it out. Thank you so much to Christopher Polidori for sponsoring this video.
Now the next one is Red Rising, but only book 1. At least in my opinion, I felt very underwhelmed with book 1, just because like the book starts by almost introducing you to this massive space opera, and then we get Hunger Games, and I just wasn't a massive fan. I will say book 2 and 3 I really enjoyed, but man, like the first one, I just wanted to get to the space opera, I wanted the politics, and yeah, we were just stuck in this massive space Hunger Games series. What do you think about book 1?
I love book 1, but I understand where you're coming from. I also think that this contains a lot of similarity to the Hunger Games, but yeah, I still loved it, especially on the second read, because after I have read the series up to Dark Age, that's the 5th book in the series, and then I did a second read from the beginning. My experience is different because, well, obviously I'm connected to the characters now. Yeah, and all the issues and all the faults with the similarities in the Hunger Games, I didn't get that anymore. It's just more fun now. Yeah, that's what I felt anyway. So you should reread.
Yeah. No, I still need to read book 4, 5, and 6 still, so Petrik is offended. The next one is probably one of the most popular self-published series ever, Cradle, but specifically book 1 and 2. Now, I didn't continue with Cradle after I read book 2 because I really disliked it. But yeah, I don't know what it is. For me, when I read about someone that just levels up, it just took me a bit out of the immersion, and yeah, I don't know, I just couldn't connect with the series at all. Like, I know a lot of people say it gets good at book 3.
Yeah.
But if I really,
I was about to say that.
but if I really didn't enjoy book 1 and 2 at all, I seriously doubt if I'll love book 3. But what do you think about Cradle book 1 and 2?
I think they're disappointing. Book 1 and book 2 are really the weakest of the entire series in my opinion. But yeah, as I said, I think you should try it until book 3. Because book 3 is so much better in my opinion. And again, this is just like Memories of Ice. If you did not like book 3, that's Black Flame, I think you will just have to drop this series. But until then, please give it a try. Yeah, that's my thoughts. But I get it though, it's only about leveling up characters in the first 2, and there's not enough characterizations in the first 2 books.
I just finished The Captain by Will White, and I really disliked it, so I just feel like Will White might just not be for me.
Okay, how about I start with the next one, and I think this is unpopular opinion, or is it popular opinion? I'm not even sure, but this is The Witcher.
Yes.
Yeah, The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. Yeah, I really love the video game. I love the video game very much, and because of that, of course, just like many other people, we wanted to read the books. I think you too, right? You did not? Yeah. After we tried it, it's just not working. Especially for me, I don't know whether Johan has read it, but for me, I have read up to the 2nd book. I did really like The Last Wish, but Sword of Destiny was a massive disappointment, and because of that, I haven't continued reading the series again. But what do you think?
Yeah, I only read The Last Wish. I thought it was okay, but I didn't really connect to any of the stories really. The world was quite interesting, I suppose. But yeah, a lot of people also say, like, I don't know if it's true, but some people say like the translation isn't very good.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell you, but yeah, I just didn't find really anything interesting. And for me, I'd never played the video games. I never watched the series.
Okay.
I think maybe if I played the video games, I might be a bit more involved, like immersed in the story. But yeah, I agree with you. The Witcher, only read 1 book, but I didn't get the hype. The next book is a book I read last month, and Petrik has also read it. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I actually read this one for one of my reading logs, and I was so disappointed with it. Like, it's cozy sci-fi, and some cozy stuff I enjoy, like Legends and Latte. Love Legends and Latte. But I don't know what it was about this one. I just didn't connect with anyone. It felt like it was way too long. And yeah, it was a massive slog. Definitely one of the most disappointing books I read this year. But what did you think?
I have to agree with this one. I like cozy fantasy. I mean, I have read Legends and Lattes, as Johan said, and I love that. And I have read many Slice of Life manga series. I love those kind of things. But The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is really the long way to a small angry planet. I couldn't finish it. I DNF'd it. Yeah, it was a huge disappointment. Yeah, I think I DNF'd it. I couldn't even remember, but I think so. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that book. Yeah, but I get it though why people loved it, but it's not for me. we're almost to the end, I think, of this video, right? But for the next one, this is again one of the series that I get a lot of heat when I said it, and this is for Chronicles of the Black Company. Well, have you read it?
I started book 1 and I just got halfway through and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's even worse. That's even worse for me because I did like the first 3 books. I like the first 3 books of the Black Company, but the 4th and the 5th book, they were a huge disappointment for me, and I DNF'd the series up to the 6th book. That's my opinion anyway. I have written a full review for each book in the series, but yeah, I couldn't continue anymore. I do recommend though to read the first 3 books. I think they are worth your time, but not the entire series.
I mean, I was just so confused about book 1. I didn't really understand what was happening at all. The characters weren't fleshed out at all. It just felt like reading a very dry history book in some sense. That was very confusing. I don't know. I wanted to love it. I might get back to it someday. But from, hearing from you and other people that have read it, I don't think it's gonna be for me. And the last one that is on this list, and it's not a book that I hate, but for me, Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson was slightly overhyped. Now, I think overall, what he tried to accomplish, he did well. But for me, I just don't enjoy like Princess Bride, lots of humor. When I think about the Cosmere, I think about Mistborn, I think about Stormlight. This was nice, but for me, like, I don't know. It's not really why I read the Cosmere. What do you think?
I love Chess of the Emerald Sea, but yeah, it's very different compared to standard Sanderson's. It's definitely not like Mistborn, Stormlight Archive, but I love Chess of the Emerald Sea. I think what Brandon Sanderson sets out to do with the book and also its inspiration, even though it's very experimental, I think it's really worth it. It's really worth the read. And as many people said, they have tried reading Tress of the Emerald Sea as their first Sanderson book, and it worked. It worked really well. So there's something to consider about when you're about to start reading Sanderson's book. Maybe you can try from the Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Still a book I would still recommend to a lot of people, but it just wasn't a massive favorite. But let us know which ones you think we're totally wrong here, or which ones you actually agree with. We would love to hear you. And thank you so much, Petrik, for joining me on a collab. This is amazing, really. And I also apologize for my voice.
Oh, you're still here and you want more? Well, the good news is that I have a Viking book club on my Patreon. If you join my Patreon, then you get access to an exclusive book club where every single month we read one book together and the book can be put forward by you. If you join tier 3 or 4, then you can put a book forward and then I randomly choose a book from the pot that we end up reading together, and throughout the month we discuss the book on the Patreon chats. And then we also have Zoom hangouts, which honestly are some of my favorite times of the month. This month we're reading this book, and next month we're gonna be reading this book. Also, since I launched my Patreon, I basically spent my money back into the channel on video editing. I've had more than 40 videos professionally edited, so if you want to support what I do here and also help me upload more consistently, then I'll leave a link in the description down below.